aboard!
Outdoor service owners, rise and shine. It's time to start fueling your success, one adventure at a time. Welcome back to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur, brought to you by House Call Pro, where service owners come and explore ways to take charge and level up. We are your hosts. I'm Kevin Fontaine, and this is my brother from another barbecue, Patrick Harders. Join us on this journey every Wednesday. Like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on our social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. What's been cooking, Pat?
Took the morning, and I actually was starting to go through my dream of rebuilding my old truck. So, we'll see if I can get to that this spring or this summer.
What is it?
68 Power Wagon.
Damn.
So my hope is to take the body off and put it onto another, like a 92 Ram Cummins engine and all that, and just switch them out. So I've been looking at it for years, but it's a project.
Yeah, I've seen people do that with Corvettes too. Is that a Jeep, the Power Wagon, or is that a Dodge?
It's a Dodge, yeah.
Okay.
One big, ugly, seafoam green. So ugly that it looks cool.
Hell yeah. Put you a damn surfboard and put the Carolina lean on it where the front's higher than the back.
That's illegal in Virginia. Our governor passed a law not allowing that.
No doubt. Well, guys, today what we're talking about is kind of a hot topic, whether you should run a mass generic service or whether you should be going more niche, services. And Pat, we had you remember Mark Hale?
Oh, yeah.
From Illy.
Yep.
I met him. That was the first time I met him back in 2018 when we were all there at Illy. But he runs an outdoor lighting business in Texas.
Yep.
And he commented, hey guys, we all met at the Illy conference back in 18. I'm running my outdoor lighting company here in Midland, Texas. I prefer design build lighting projects where I work mainly B2B relationships, but during some of the off seasons, I will experience some production gaps where I need to advertise to residential, more mass marketing, and to keep my guys busy, off-season work. What is your take on offering high-volume service versus a more design-centric niche service?
Yeah, we've gone down that road. I'm a big proponent of being a specialist in what you do and get really good at it. I always hate the term keeping your guys busy because it's usually you get done with the end of the month and you're like, I made no money keeping my guys busy.
Right.
And I think the times that I've gotten in the most trouble is when I've gone out and gone outside of my scope. Christmas lighting, we started a Christmas lighting business to keep my guys busy in the winter. And then we ended up having one of our best Novembers ever in landscape lighting. So it's just pulling guys out of one business and into another business that they weren't as good at and weren't as trained up in.
Right.
But it's also, there are times that I've pushed myself where it's like, we used to not go up 50 feet in trees. And I remember we had to work on a mercury vapor system. And I was like, we just can't do that. And someone's like, just give it a try. And it changed the way we did that. We ended up getting like a $50,000 project. And then it changed the way we did lighting. So, I do think we need to push ourselves and test what we're able to do. But when I've gotten in the most trouble is doing something outside of my scope. And all of a sudden we're out at a job for 3 weeks and you get done with it and made no money at all. So,
hell yeah. I was the same as you, the yes man. I can do anything. I'll try anything. And you end up putting yourself in a corner because you're not set up to do that kind of add-on or whatever you're trying to do there. And, as home service owners, we have a decision to make, should we offer a wide range generic service or should we specialize? Both models have pros and cons, obviously. And what would be the best choice is depending on, I guess, business owner specific goals, mindset, resources, and what's his target market like and where he works. That could be limiting as well. Pat, some examples of generic versus niching, say a lawn service, which I have, traditional lawn maintenance where you're just mowing, blowing and going, versus estate gardening is a niche where you could adapt. And we did that as well, where you're doing these high-end gated entry estates. You're hand pruning. You're not gas pruning where you're shearing.
Yeah.
You're spending a lot more time on site. You're doing a lot more detail work, and normally we would drop off a 1 or 2 man team and let them just spend half a day at the house. And those are big ticket revenue streams, and you do make more profit there. Another example is deck builder versus, say, expanding to a niche of 4-season rooms.
Yep.
Where you
that happens a lot. A lot of the pool companies do that now. They start off just as a pool company, then they started building pool houses, which a lot of those pool houses are almost homes in themselves, and kept expanding out and offering more and more services. Makes a lot of sense. You're at the customer's house, you've got trust. Adding those extra revenue sources can be something very valuable.
Yeah, and another example I would say is, landscape construction. We would do kitchen islands out of stone, and we would have the customer pick out their appliances so we could know the opening sizes. I met a guy when I was doing the lighting at this nice home with a pool and everything, and under his deck, he had a basement. And under that middle story deck, he had a company that specializes in only doing outdoor barbecues. Okay. And what they did, they built a very specific structure, not out of stone and masonry, but it was pre-made panels that are stainless steel, but they skin them in any damn color you want. And it's really cool. They can skin it in bronze. They can put texture looks on it. They can make it just stainless. Super cool, super precise, super modern. All the drawers had the soft close, and just a lot more compartments, a lot more ingenuity. And his business is only doing outdoor living space. Yeah. And I think that's an amazing niche that is something to consider if you're already out there.
Well, I'm going to contradict myself. Everybody always hears like, oh, he's a jack of all trades. And the full quote is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. But I would say, if you can offer, like, let's say you want to get into, outdoor kitchens. If you say, that's all I'm going to do, you have to be better at it than everybody else. Like, it doesn't make any sense to be like, I do kitchens just like everybody else. But, in my experience, what I've learned is that if we could focus on what we do really well and just turn that out, we could achieve higher results. We've put a lot more time and energy into studying what we're doing. But my guys can knock out jobs quickly, and they know exactly what they're going to do. There aren't surprises. So then it's like, can you scale it? And I think with Mark's question, we got into doing kind of more mass lighting with NVR and Ryan Holmes, and it was just basic stuff where they could go and throw in the projects. But then what ended up happening is, they cut back their budget a little bit, and all of a sudden we went from adding 12 lights to every house to 3, and it really did not become worth our time. So it was like
lower quantities,
lower quantity. And it was like a 3-light job. I don't, we'll do it, but I don't really, nobody's excited about that. That's like when we have time and we feel like it. Cause if I could get an $8,000 job in the same time of travel and everything as a $2,000 project, I'm going for the $8,000 project.
For sure. So it's a loaded question whether you should run a high mass service or a niche, because it all depends on where you're at in your business. Early on, Pat, when I was in business, I would do the mass appeal stuff because I needed the revenue. Yeah. So I would accept more jobs that I'm not really great at yet. Number one, to learn how to do something else, but also, hey, that's extra money, for us that week. And I would do that. Let's look at some pros and cons of, say, a mass general service. Okay. Broader appeal. You can attract a wide range of customers by offering a wide variety of service, or an economical service, let's say, like mowing lawns or similar. Economies of scale. You may be able to negotiate better rates with suppliers if you're buying in bulk. say machinery, equipment, tools, lighting, etc. Flexibility. You can adapt your service offerings to meet the changing needs of the market, I guess, more easy. And I guess mass product, mass service, you're more can have a better idea of what you're going to make throughout the year. You can predict that income easier, especially with reoccurring service as we did and do in our landscape maintenance, lawn maintenance. We don't make a big profit line on our routine maintenance, which we come out weekly.
Yeah.
But I have it where they pay me the total contract amount divided by 12. So every month I'm getting the same amount of revenue, and they're under a contract with me with clauses of cancellation, et cetera. And that's a really nice income for me, income stream. So that's my trickle stream.
Yeah.
And then the streams that offer more rush of income revenue are my specialty projects. So like today, we're running a couple jobs. We're installing walkways. And then next week, we're going to follow that with some planting, so those offer a higher revenue, higher profit margin, and they're more unique and specialized because I designed them with software, and I have a landscape plan that I got paid for up front. And we have, depending on the job, if it's a small job like these are, we'll credit back the design because it's very quick for me to do it.
Yeah.
But I now can give that deliverable to my crew.
Yep.
And they have a really nice picture of what it's supposed to, placement, dimensions. And then that customer gets to shoot that plan, it's a PDF, to her association, which she gets approvals. So it's a good tool, but I get paid for it up front. So they got skin in the game. They believe in me at the end, and the trust is there. And then I can now sell a lot easier to them because they do have that investment up front.
Yeah.
And those are some of the pros, of general. Now, Pat, like when you got started, you would put lights in for anyone, I would assume.
Yeah.
And if they wanted 2 or 10 or 20, fine and dandy. As you progressed, years after years of learning, and you started niche, and also you started developing more relationships with designers, landscape designers, B2B.
Yeah, we did some of that, and that's still something that we're working on. But it's interesting. I had 2 conversations this week. One, a guy who just actually left my office is redoing the roof of my office, and all he does is metal roofs. So super, super specialty. But he's got the best crew. All they do is metal work, and so he's known in the area and goes to the very high end homes. Another conversation I was having with a guy, a patio builder, and he's like, I look back and I really wish I would have just specialized in something. He's like, because I look at what you're doing, it's just lighting and, just lighting, but it's, you've really specialized in our craft of lighting. So he's like, when you meet with a customer, like we're able to say a lot, like, hey, we've done 10,000 homes and, this is all we do.
Yeah.
I do think in some industries like lighting that we're both been involved in, like one of the hard things is when you do a job, you're not done with it. So it's like, I talked to a lot of pool builders and they put in a $300,000, $400,000 pool. They throw in some lighting and then they're having to go to a service call on lighting that they're just not equipped to do service. So it's always something to keep in mind is like, hey, what's going to be the after effect of this job if you didn't put in a good product or you just had something that wasn't working the way you wanted? Like, how are you going to service that customer so you don't ruin that relationship over something you've added?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think outdoor lighting is a niche in itself. I think it has so much capability to grow as an industry. And so I treat it as my business in outdoor lighting is a niche, and I treat it as that. So I want higher ticket jobs. I want to get paid for my work up front, whether that be you want me there as a consult to see what you have, what you need, what you like, what's your budget. I get paid for that up front. So I treat that as a niche. And then I treat my landscaping more as a mass offering. So I can have that trickle of income stream coming in consistently, which I guess would go to Mark saying, what can you do? You can offer both. Why not do a
Yep.
hybrid and
But
offer a couple different lines of offerings there?
but you're almost running two separate businesses.
You can get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always something that, like, as you get into it, like what's the, it's one thing to say, hey, I have a customer, I put in some bushes, put in a couple of trees. They asked if I did lighting, I'm gonna throw in some lighting. Um, but it's always just something like, be careful, because we were watching a crew and they're out there for 3 days putting in one job because they had never done lighting before, and I'm like,
That's
so
scary.
yeah, it's always something. I'm a big proponent of, like, figure out what you want to do and be the best at what you're going to do.
I
So
love that. I mean, that's what I'm all about.
yeah,
And that's a big part of our masterclass for sure. But
yeah,
you got to make money. And at the beginning, just do what you can, do everything. Let's look at some cons of the mass generic service offering. Increased competition. Hey,
yeah.
that's no
Low barrier of
bueno.
entry. Cutting the grass.
Yeah,
It's like, I bought a $8,000 mower and a trimmer and a truck, and I'm ready to roll. So it's like,
I've seen.
there's
I've
always someone
seen.
coming in behind you.
I've got so many meme pictures of Honda Accords running down the road with weed eaters and edgers and blowers sticking out the windows.
Minivans. Yeah.
It's incredible. Lower profit margins with the cons. You're going to have a lower price to compete because
Yeah.
you're competing against a lot of other people, which can eat into your profits. I would say, Pat, if you're going to do mass service,
Mm-hmm.
you got to have standard operating procedures. You have to
Yeah.
standardize your process, because there's no way in hell you're going to pull a profit willy-nilly, letting your workers decide how to perform each
Oh,
function
yeah.
every day,
Yeah, it's interesting. We had Damian Sanchez on before, who ran a mosquito control business, really niche business. And, it has to be, I think the biggest things with him is, it's about customer service first. So he's
Okay.
like, people answering the phones the moment they call in. He's got a number of people doing that, and then a systematized way of how they spray and how they go about it. But that's something that's a low barrier of entry of a backpack blower and some pyrethrin, and you're ready to roll. So it's like, how do you set yourself apart when it is something that's a mass appeal to people, low barrier of entry into getting into it? So
Yeah.
if you need to make the margins you want to make, you need to have something that you're doing that's
Yeah,
going to
that,
separate yourself.
for sure. And that high volume is also going to require a higher infrastructure for staff that you're going to have, because you're going to get a lot more callbacks, a lot
Yeah.
more warranty work,
Yeah.
a lot more, hey, seems weird. Can you come by and look at that? We just had a customer call from an HOA yesterday, and somebody trickled Roundup or something through the damn grass. So I got to
Yeah.
go check that out. So, yeah, you're going to have a lot more customer complaints. It's just natural. I mean, lawn care companies Pat, I've talked to some lawn care companies that do 100 accounts a day,
Yeah.
spraying an application of fertilizer, weed control.
Yep.
Talk about the call volumes that would come in of doing 3,000 accounts a month. I mean, geez,
Yeah. It's big.
that's
But
huge.
starting off, like, when I started in lighting, I was the company. And so, the advantage you have on that small level is you could really build that relationship with those customers, and they feel like they're part of your family. They're helping you get started.
Yeah.
So it's really like being able to turn on, like, I'm going to produce really well on this one project, one at a time, take care of each one, and try not to spread yourself too thin. And then your next big thing is like, all right, how do I find my next person that's going to represent me to do,
That's
like, if
right.
I leave a job and there's two guys on it, that, you don't come back and they're laying under a tree for 2 hours taking a nap.
Yeah.
So you're getting that high
I've
level
done
of
that.
service. Yeah.
Let's look at niche services, some pros and cons. Pros, reduce competition.
Mm-hmm.
By specializing in a niche market, you'll face less competition and command higher prices.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for you, Pat, as you're
Yeah.
doing the high-end
Yeah.
lighting.
That's what we did is, we just went like, let's go high end. And it's kind of scary doing it and a lot of it's my own mental head trash to go like, I started off, I was $165 a light. Now we have a totally different pricing structure.
Right.
But as you start growing the business, like, I can't be at the level of like what it costs with myself, a truck, and two guys. Like, all the expenses went up, so my prices went up. And then I just went like, well, I really want to be high end. And in order to be high end, I needed to pick out products that were special, that set myself apart, that you just weren't, run up to the store and grabbing,
Yeah.
and doing the little things. So yeah, I think that's true in any business. Like irrigation, I always look at it as, a tough business to set yourself apart because there's three major manufacturers. And so
Right.
if it's, you know, I think
Rainbird, Irritrol, Toro.
yeah, yeah, you go through those. So it's like, how do you separate yourself? And, the good ones that I recommend are always like, I know every time I go on their jobs, it's buried a foot deep. It's all done right. It's not on the surface. And, they specialize in the installation techniques and the design of their irrigation systems.
Yeah, and the performance where it's
Yeah.
very conserved on water. You got a
Yeah.
very efficient system, so you don't have high water bills and all that.
Yeah.
Becoming a go-to expert in your community, you can establish yourself in your market area, and that will attract your ideal clients, especially if you're doing social media posting, videos, really rallying around that premise that you are the expert in your field and in your market area. And that's a big helper for you to keep that competition even lower.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times most industries have trade organizations. We were just working with the integration industry, and they have a trade organization and then an elite trade organization, businesses over $2 million. And
Okay.
but you and I have AOLP and some other groups that we could go to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you get relationships with people outside of your market and learn what they're doing, but then also, start to be seen in the industry as a leader in your industry, whether that's giving back and training or, learning more, getting accreditations. All of that's really important.
It's huge, but you definitely have to have the infrastructure and the standardizations and the team and the culture behind you before you can take off and represent.
Take a week off.
For sure. The next is develop deep expertise. You can focus on developing your expertise in a specific area, which will allow you to provide a better service to your customers. So, that's, as your prices go up, the demand goes up for service quality and performance and warranty and different things like that. I will say as a niche offering, if that's what you're doing, you will develop a backlog of clients eventually. It's going to take time. You're going to have that investment in time where you're going to have a backlog eventually of clients whom want to wait for you.
Yeah.
And will seek you out to wait. The same company, Pat, Bland Landscaping, back in the day, Cafe, they were the most expensive landscape contractor in the area. Yeah. And people waited for them for their installations, which could be 100, 200,000 plus back in the day. That was a lot of money. This is the 80s.
Yeah.
And late 80s. And because they would do estates and small and commercial, everything. So it is a thing. People think, oh my God, I charge a lot. I'm only going to be able to sell 1 or 2 jobs a year. No, that's not the case. Once you get branded well, once you get promoted well in your social media, your presence online, that comes with it. You'll start getting this relationship building tactics. You'll start getting referrals. You'll start getting all these other cool things that'll help you grow naturally without having to fight the alligators in the red ocean and spend a ton of money on advertising to all these knuckleheads that are tire kickers and DIYers anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like if I could probably put in a sidewalk for somebody, I figure it out. I think I'm smart enough to do it. But if you're doing it, you could throw it in, like you get everything ready in a day or two, where for me, I would be like learning it, watching YouTube videos, calling people, messing it up, doing everything. And I've done that, we've done a number of projects that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have gone down this road. But, I think it's good to experiment, and test yourself, but, just be very fully aware of what you're doing. And,
Amen.
Tom Fennig, who, is working with us now, he started a franchise lighting system, which, kind of went to crap, but he ran it and it was really good. And one of the things that he could do that was special is like, I could come in and meet a customer and then install the lights 2 days later. So he was all about like they could turn jobs around really quickly. So it's like, hey,
Awesome.
by the weekend you could have your lights in. And so that was just another,
That's a nice mass appeal right there.
yeah.
Just
So
get her done. I can get you done tomorrow. You ready? Sign. Let's
got
go.
inventory. I'm ready to roll.
That's right. All right, let's talk about some cons of the niche model. Limited market size. So the niche
Yeah.
market you choose may be small. You know, where do you live? Is there a high influency of clients, or do you have to travel to go get those clients? Less flexibility. You may be less adapt to changing market conditions if you're too specialized. So you don't want to get
Yeah.
painted in a corner there. Marketing challenges. It may be more difficult to reach your target market when you're offering such a niche product. You can actually run out of clients if you're in a very small market. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful there. I will say, Pat, that I spent more money on the niche side of my lighting than compared to advertising, marketing, branding of landscaping, because you're trying to promote this unique niche product service. And so what goes behind that, behind the scenes, is more training, better equipment, nicer trucks, nicer logos, nicer uniforms, nicer gifts that you're giving people afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of extra input money to represent that brand that you're trying to grow with, you know?
Yeah. And I look at it, if I'm cutting grass, every house I drive by needs that service.
Yeah.
So you have, if I have 1,000 homes, near our office, they all need their grass cut. So there's a lot of people competing, but there's a much wider market. And, very rarely if I'm ever going down a street and lighting up 12 homes in a row. But if you're cutting grass, that's what you want to do, is you want to get a street, and the guy doesn't even get off his mower. He goes from one house right to the next, and
That's
that's
awesome.
ideal. And you can't do that
Yeah.
in like a real niche business that is going to be premium. You're not getting, every home. You may get one home, and then the next home's 20 miles away.
That's right.
So it is a challenge on that. The market share is just, or market size is just so much smaller.
Yep. And so, so let's, there's no right or wrong answer. And
No.
it, like I mentioned earlier, this is a loaded question, but, the best approach for you is going to depend on your specific circumstances, and things like, what's your skills and experience? Me and Pat invested our time wisely to grow our knowledge as, lighting designers, and in my case, also landscape contracting and hardscape certifications and stuff like that. So that's our investment in ourselves to grow. And so, where are you at? Comment below where you're at, what struggles you're having to reach that next level. Another thing, Pat, is the resources. How much capital do you have to invest in the growth, or at the beginning? That's going to dictate which model you may choose initially. We've already covered target market. Who are you trying to reach? Who's your ideal client? Because your marketing efforts, your advertising efforts has to match that client that you perceive. Who's your client avatar? What does that look like? And of course, competition. Do you have a lot of competition in your area? That can sway you to decide how heavily you're going to invest in a niche offering, or just stay within that widespread offering. And then, clients, Pat, this is one thing I want to say is clients are a lot more smarter today than they were yesterday.
More information out there. I mean,
Tons more information.
they could do so much research and know so much more. And I personally, I want to give them that information. I want to be the one like training and showing someone. So when they're in the phase of learning about how to do something, why would they choose A over B?
Boom. So you're already making another level up right there by explaining the differences of a technique, or a fixture, or yada yada, right?
Yeah, that's what really what we need is we need an educated customer in order to invest with us, because I've got guys that are knocking on doors and like, hey, we'll throw in 11 lights for $1,800, and how do I combat that to say, well, we're going to be like $8,000 for that same system.
Yep.
So totally different mindset. And, if a homeowner doesn't see the difference, they're never going to invest with you.
And I'm going to blow your coconuts off on this one, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
There is no more sales. Let that
Okay.
sink in. The sales process is dead. All right. Bottom line, I'm a firm believer that clients already know what they want, and that it's your job as a business owner to find the clients that are already predisposed to want what you're selling. All right. So it's your job to know who your client is and go find them. They're already ready to buy. They already know what they want. Either they search you, find you through all this killer social marketing that you need to do, or you have to find them and excavate them, like gold digging, right?
Yeah. The counterpoint I'd say to that is, what I really want to do is find niche businesses that are early on in the business development phase. Like irrigation at this point, I'd say, 60, 70% of the people in my area have irrigation, where 15 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Right.
When paver patios came out, I had a good friend that he jumped all over that because he's like, I no longer need masons. I could have, guys that are skilled labor, but
Right.
not having to do the 20 years of mason, having the 50-year-old guy that's been working in the masonry field cutting stone.
Right.
So for us, we had to educate like what lighting was, because when I moved up to Northern Virginia, nobody knew. They're like, "What are you doing? You're putting lights on the front of the house. Why are you doing that?" And so it was that educational process, and now it's that next level where they have an idea what they want, but they don't. They're probably not going to see it to the scale and size of what I could actually do. So I do like to try and do a lot of training on the front end, and ideally, you put out enough information and training material out there and what people can do, why you can make something special, that by the time you meet with them, they know it. But there are times I think you do have to say, sure, we could put 6 path lights on the front of your house, but here's what else we could do. Have you ever looked at X?
Yeah, exactly. And I think this falls back to Pat on deciding whether you should do a mass service or niche, or a combination of the two, which I'm in now. I do believe you want to check out and do a SWOT analysis that we've talked about before. This is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Yeah. So, take the time, analyze yourself, analyze your market. What are you good at? What are you bad at? What do you want to do? What do you hate doing? Because you don't want to be in a job where you hate it.
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to last long. There's tons of people working at McDonald's and they don't want to be there. They're just they just need a paycheck. So find something you are creative at, you love to do. It's going to get you up every day, excited. And that excitement you're going to pour some sugar on me. I don't know about sugar, but that old Def Leppard song.
Yeah. I never understood what he was doing there.
Oh, I know what he's doing. But anyway, so you want to pour that excitement and whatever to your employees and your staff and even your subcontractors, because you're on that energy level of, hey, we're doing something different, guys. What we're doing is making a difference. Boom. Yeah. That's your culture. But SWOT analysis would be very helpful.
So an interesting question, I think, for a lot of guys out there is, say you're a lawn mowing business. What are you doing that makes yourself like, why is a customer going to choose your company over somebody else? How did you separate yourself in a field that is very tough to separate yourself in?
So what we did in that regard, obviously when I started, I was pushing a mower. I had a 21-inch push mower, string trimmer, and a blower. And I worked with my dad, who was retired from IBM. I helped him do installation jobs. And then I'd start passing out literally flyers that I printed and say, hey, I can mow your lawn, because I wanted to fill the gaps because my dad didn't have full-time work. I grew up from there, and eventually I started morphing into full service.
Okay.
So our tagline back then was, we are your one source for landscaping. Okay. So we could do design, we could do maintenance, we could do installation. And then I started befriending people in irrigation so we could repair and maintain irrigation systems. And then eventually I brought that component on myself. So, we were trying to offer A to Z outside regarding landscaping. And then that way we could appeal to the higher end client because they don't want to worry about anything. And they don't want to have 3-4 different people to call for the fertilizer, for the mowing, for the irrigation. Who's going to do my mulch? Who's going to put in flowers and enhancements of plantings? So that was a nice way I could get a little bit niched up in my market at the time.
Yeah.
And
I would say that's a big challenge for my company is, if they've got a company that's coming out and they're doing the flower and they're doing the mulching, they're cutting the grass and they offer lighting, like why would they select me who's more expensive to come in as a specialist? So that's a challenge of being niche is you have to overcome that. Where they could just call Kevin, and Kevin's like, I'll do it all, versus me saying, I'm only going to do one thing.
Oh, I know. So. It's, with lighting, I believe it's we're still earlier in this industry to educate. I don't think clients out there as the mass appeal are educated in high-end lighting.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that I can pick up a 10-pack of lights at Home Depot or Amazon or Costco. And I believe 70% of the population is on that side of the fence. There's 30% of people that may know of brass fixtures, may know of warranty or care about warranty or installation tactics, techniques. And installation and design technique is the big one, Pat. I don't think there's 25% of the population that understands that it's a thing and what it takes us to get that expertise and level of design skill set.
Yeah. It's gotten better, but I remember telling people like, oh, I'm an outdoor lighting designer. And they just stare at me like, that's a thing? I'm like, oh,
you have 3 heads.
I was like, no, that's what I do. I'm really that's my skill set is I'm an outdoor lighting designer. And after that, everything else is getting the systems in order to make that come true. But it is true. There's not many people understand that there is a design process and that's a skill set that's, you're not born with it. It's something you train and you work on and, put hours and hours into it. But I think that's true in a lot of industries, to be an elite patio builder, it starts at the design phase. And like, what are you doing that's unique and different? And how are you looking at the elevations and, building out that space that it's just not a square pad, thrown in the backyard, but something that has different levels to it and different gathering areas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's guys killing it on social media, just showing this before and after of just this immense hedgerows with all kinds of flower power surrounding this house. And they got a Lamborghini poached out on the driveway and these killer drone shots and high rev music and fountains and fire features by the pools and barbecues and pavilions and
but taking it a step back, like if you're newer, like how are you, what are the things you can do that you grow to that level? And I think you hit on a key part that we went over quickly was that guerrilla marketing. Going when you're at a house, you're putting a sign out in the yard, you have a truck that's, I'm not big into wrapping, I'm more into lettering. My truck's keeping it simple.
Lower cost.
But are you putting, something in the newspaper slots or just knocking on the door, say, hey, my trucks are going to be here. Let us know to the neighbor if we're in your way at all or if you need anything. But we get busy and we go from one job to the next, and there's so much potential in that, face-to-face, guerrilla marketing that we can do.
Yeah, I would say definitely no wham, bam, thank you, ma'am service. You always got to have a nice back-end finish, a nice walkthrough, a nice warranty. Here's how this works presentation. No matter if you're doing mass work or niche work, you got to have a very good end of sale customer service closing process. And where you ask for the Google review, where you ask for a referral, give them some literature, give them some, or email them links. We used to have on our website a link that was hidden, and it would say, hey, who's 5 of your closest friends that would be interested in landscaping? And they could input each email address. It would send them an automated, each of those people, an automated welcome email. And it's all through the website. So there's really cool ways to, with software and CRMs, that you can really help shore up this thing that we're trying to do, which is grow your business the right way, but get more leads the referral way, so you don't have to spend so much money on this blanket advertising.
Yeah. And there are businesses that are, that help fall in line really well with other businesses. Like if you're building a patio, putting the planting material in, you're already going back and backfilling and, leveling things out and regrading, so adding the plant material makes sense. When I was in an old business, we were doing lighting and they added mosquito control to it, and they just didn't make sense at all. It's like 2 seasons that had the peak both in the spring, totally different skill sets where one's mass production, one's, really paying attention to details and being able to solve lots of problems. So it was just 2 businesses that didn't go together at all.
Right.
So it's like, what are things for lighting, outdoor audio? I mean, that goes together really well. It's similar in design. You're both trenching, you're putting products in at the same place. So
wire connections,
putting wire connections. So those 2 go together well, whereas something else, may not go together as well. Pressure washing and lighting.
Water and lights.
Yeah. It gets harder.
I would say, Pat, you hit on something there too. Like Mark was asking, what can I do to fill my gaps? Mm-hmm. That's what she said.
Nice beaver.
Anyway, is partner with other contractors that are doing patios, doing high-end landscapes. Definitely, which he's already doing, being B2B, does, landscape designers, etc. But partner with these people, give them an incentive if you have to, or you promote them as well. So it's conjoining benefit there. Yeah. But, sell to them as you're selling to a customer. They have to believe in what you do is different before you give them a bunch of business cards at the damn gas station. Hey, man, here, I do lighting, and take off. No.
Yeah.
Bring them to your office. Go meet them for coffee, lunch. Take the time to give him a nice presentation, or her, and let them know why you're different, why people would want to choose you. So he's then has that in his mind when he goes to sell for you, and you the same for him. So you want to give him the compliment, or her, to get them more business. So that's a big one too, is to fill gaps, is just to partner and branch out.
I think that's a huge one, because if you get one trade partner, they might get you 5 or 10 jobs a year for the next 5-10 years. And those relationships are going to kind of come and go at times where, they're real busy and then they're not. Yep. But that is a great investment of time, is finding out, either organizations you could join, or just looking. This week I met with an integration person who's really good. And he's like, I hate being outside. And I'm like, I hate being inside. So I was like, he's like, I'll do the indoor audio, you do the outdoor. And, we'll just trade back and forth. Electrician, same thing. Like, never ask an electrician to put a shovel in the ground. That's really expensive.
Right.
But I don't want to be putting in outlets and I'm not licensed for it. So I would much rather just give him all the business, and we keep our guy busy. We feed him business, and when he gets opportunities for lighting, he gives us a call. So,
So I would say, partner with as many like businesses, similar businesses that are both going for the same clients. Don't choose somebody that is low dollar, high volume if you're trying to be niche. And I will say, if you're going to do a hybrid where you're trying to appeal to the masses at times and you're trying to niche at times just to keep the workflow coming in regularly, market those differently, advertise. So I will say, Pat, I think it's a great idea to, if you're going to fill some voids and hit a low entry point service, then shoot that advertising, but only have that message. Don't put in, also, we do niche, custom design, yada, yada, because now you're muddying the waters. So run 2 different campaigns, different times a year, and track that performance of that advertising. So boom, mass advertising, mass service appeal versus niche appeal. Track what came in from that. What was the sales closing rate? How much did you make on either of those campaigns, and how much did you spend? And then weigh out the next move from that analysis.
Yeah. And you should be open to looking at, are there things inside of your skill set that can work out? I know a lot of guys do landscape lighting, Christmas lighting, and now permanent trim lighting. And they run almost as three separate businesses, but there are opportunities out there, but you really have to, pick your track and then run with it. But it's scary when you're all by yourself and you're making decisions. You're like, I don't know which direction to go. And that's why it's always good to have other people to talk to and go like, yeah, I tried that, didn't work. Or no, this is the direction to go.
Yeah, exactly. Because there is no right or wrong, and it's a loaded question, and it's okay to do one or the other, and it's okay to do both. It's all depending on your circumstance. So analyze that, do a SWOT analysis, ask for help, ask other mentors or people you know in the industry. Research your market, research your competitors. What are they doing great at? Why are they so great at what they're doing? Why are they winning all the damn bids every time we go up against each other? Because you're doing something wrong if that's the case. You're not separating yourself. Your prices are too low or high. Something's wrong. So you got to definitely know that.
Yeah, but sometimes that outside view, and that's one thing like you and I are looking at this course is, if you could get some outside eyes on the business, we become blinded to our weaknesses sometimes because we're like, oh, well, I just didn't do this right or whatever it was. Next time I'll do it better. You keep beating your head against a wall and it's 5 years later and you're doing the same thing where, I still seek out coaching to go, what am I doing wrong? And it's like other people are like, it's so easy to see your flaws, but we don't see our own flaws.
Yeah, you need a fresh set of eyes on the picture to see, because we get the blinders on and we think that we know everything anyway.
No, I think it leads right back to the course that we're looking to open up. So it's real exciting to look at the idea of working with people and walking you through some of these decisions that you're going to be making as you grow your business and define who you are and what you do. And it's an evolving thing. Like, lighting from 2009 to 2020 and 2024 changed a lot where, technology changed, installation changed, design changed, scope changed. And I think that happened in most industries. And, nobody has a crystal ball of what the industry is going to look like in 20 years, but we want to stay on the forefront. And, the biggest thing is running an efficient business.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, this wraps up this episode. Let us know in the comments what you're working on to improve your business. If you're doing a niche service or whether you're thinking about mass marketing services, which one's working for you? Let us know. Make sure you just subscribe to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur YouTube channel and hit those notifications and listen to wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on our social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. Looking for a way to reduce your production workload? Check out our terrific field service software called House Call Pro. Linked in the description below. Free 14-day trial. And the Outdoorsy Entrepreneur community gets 50% off, their first 2 months. The Outdoorsy Entrepreneur Masterclass will be launching this summer. Check it out. Sign up on OutdoorsYentrepreneur.com for future notifications for early bird pricing. What you got, Pat? Anything for the guys?
No, we'll go back and there's a lot of good content over the last couple months, and I've gotten a lot of people I've spoken to about it that Kevin, you're doing awesome. So bringing up these topics and things that we all work with in our businesses. It's common problems we have. There's nothing new under the sun, and we've all been through all the different circumstances. So
I love how what we're talking about too, Pat, is universal. Someone can take all these ideas and methods that we talk about and apply them to their deck building business, their irrigation business, their power washing. It doesn't matter what home service you're doing.
Yep.
Our strategy aligns with all those, and we're happy to do that. All right, guys.
I was just thinking, I see businesses out there. There's one like cleaning up dog crap. And there's somebody who's the best at cleaning up dog crap and runs the most efficient doing it, like pooper scooper or whatever they are.
Yeah.
But it's the same principles, whether you're building, high-end pools or you're cleaning up dog shit. Like, are you good at it, and are you providing the service, and are people willing to pay for that service? And they are. So
God,
the same business practices.
How do you niche your field in dog shit?
Yeah, they do. I don't want to do it.
Oh my God. I can smell it from here. Smell the roses.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.